Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar with Preeti Agarwal, and she will be presenting on Nestle India. And we are calling this the webinar learning series because we are going to have almost 180 webinars over the next 4 months, and that means we are going to have a look at about 180 companies, which virtually covers Nifty 200 stocks. So that is a kind extent of exposure that you will be getting. So stay tuned and just enjoy yourself, learn a lot, ask your questions, grill both Preeti and myself to enhance content. And Preeti, the floor is up to you.
Yeah, hi. Hello everyone, this is Preeti this side, Preeti Agarwal, and today I'll be presenting on Nestle India Limited about about myself. I have done a CFA from ICFA in 2006 and I have 5 years of experience in credit derivatives with Royal Bank of Scotland, and I'm currently on a break and looking to restart and reskill myself. So that is why I've joined this course to learn more into financial modeling and also into the report writing part. Okay, to start with about Nestle. Nestle is a very well-known company. It is the world's largest food and beverage company with more than 2,000 brands, and it is present across global in 191 countries. And in India, it's present more than 50 years now. Nestle India is a subsidiary of Nestle SA. And the founder, Henry Nestle, has created a life-saving infant cereal for more than 150 years ago. So moving on to the next, we have coming into the management team, we have Mr. Suresh Narayanan. He is a managing director of the company from 2015, and he has over 30 years of experience in FMCG industry. And he is also recognized as the best CEO in the FMCG category by Business Today. And Mr. David McDaniel, he's a CFO of the company, and he also has more than 30 years of experience in FMCG industry. And moving on to the next board of directors, we have Mr. Martin Romkins, Executive Director Technical, Ms. Rupa Kudwa, who is an independent non-executive director, Swati Piramal, again the independent non-executive director, Mr. Dr. Rakesh Mohan, Mr. Rajyavardhan Kanoria, and Ms. Rama Bijapurkar. So moving on to the latest shareholding pattern, we have the promoter holding at 63%, with the institutional holding at 21%, general public at 13%, other investors at 3%. And the Nestle has, it has 8 operational facilities in India, 8 manufacturing units, each one producing different products. And the journey continues. They are going up with the new factory in Gujarat, Sanand, which would be especially dedicated to Maggi. And coming to the business operations where it operates, they have 4 different segments: milk products and nutrition, which contributes to 29%; prepared dishes and cooking aids, which contributes to 55%; powdered and liquid beverages, which contributes to 5.5%; chocolates and confectionaries, which contributes to 10.25%. Now, looking at the segmental volumes and sales through past 10 years, you can see like how the sales and the volumes have moved across the segments. You can see here in FY15 there was a Maggi crisis, so accordingly the prepared dishes and that segment was quietly reduced, and accordingly the sales were also reduced, and more and then others are like looking quite stable actually. So these are the new products which they have launched during the year through their research and development team. So coming on to the business analysis, we will look into each and every segment of the company. So first, we will look into the milk products and the nutrition. They have products like Everyday Tea Creamer, Nestle Milkmaid, Everyday Ghee. They have milk. They have curd. They have different infant cereal food. Like they have infant cereals and formula milk in the baby food segment. Now looking at the performance, like how it performed during the last 10 years, you can see in the graph, this is the volume, and this you can see the sales, and You can see how the growth was going through last 10 years. There is a lot of gap. You can see maybe the volumes were, the sales were driven by the price increase during these years, and it's quite stable from 2016, and then you can see 2019 there was a sharp rise. Then we have different categories. They have infant cereals under the brand name of Cerelac, Cerigro. They have a market share of around 96%, and they are the market leader in this. And the market size is this one, and they are expected to grow around 9.6% by 2000 CAGR by 2025. And then the next product you have infant formula milk under the brand name Lactogen and Nanpro. The market share is about 66.6%. Again, they are the market leader. And these are the competing brands, Pediasure, Aptamil, and Enfamil. And then again, the market size is this many million, and they are expected to grow at this rate, 9.6%. Then the next we have is a condensed milk under the brand name of Milkmaid, and the market share is around 70%. Again, they are the market leader, and the most competing brand is Amul Mithai Maid, and the dairy market is expected to grow at a rate of CAGR of 16% by 2025. The next we have is a tea creamer Everyday, which contributes to 44.1% of the market share. Again, they are the market leader, and the competing brand is the Amul Amulya. And again, the dairy market is expected to grow at the rate of 16%. Currently, it is at 10,527 billion and expected to go at the CAGR of 16%. So now when you see in this, there were new launches under this segment. Milo was launched, then the Banglar Mishti Doi was launched, Resource, Optifast. Optifast is one of its basically for the weight concerns, and they have relaunched the Lactogen brand, the probiotics. Pre-Nan was also relaunched with DHA, and the Ragi variant under the brand Cerelac. And basically, the company is going more towards the organic way, so they are launching many brands under the baby food segment actually. So with the current COVID situation, people are expected to go more towards the health and nutrition product. So we expect the demand to grow for this product. So now the next segment is prepared dishes and the cooking aid, where you have the Maggi. Maggi you have, then they have launched the new product called Fusion Maggi noodles, the Kappa noodles, the ketchups are there, pasta is there, and then they have this coconut milk powders. So looking at the performance of this segment, you can see pretty much the sales and the quantity are pretty much going in line. Again, 2015, there was a big drop because of the Maggi crisis. And you can see a sharp recovery, a V-shaped recovery in 2016. And there is not much of the pricing increase in this segment actually. Now coming to this different products wise, you have under the noodles brand, they have Maggi noodles, which has 59.2% of the market share, and Nestle is the leader in that. And then you have different competing brands with Yippee noodles and Top Ramen, YY, Chings and all. The market size is 93.66 billion, and it is expected to grow around 5.6%. So the next we have ketchups under the brand name Maggi. The market share is 20.5%, and it's at the number 2 position. For first, maybe the Kisan. So these are the competing brands: Kisan, Heinz, Cremica, Del Monte, and the market size is this many million and expected to grow at the rate of 6.9%. So next we have instant pasta. It's coming under the name of Maggi pasta. The market share is 73.17%. Is the market leader. Then the competing brand is with ITC Sunfeast pasta. And then this, I'm not able to see actually. And this segment is looking to grow at maybe 9.6%. So when you see the current development in this segment, they have launched new products under the name of Atta noodles, then the Maggi fusion noodles in different flavors. Then they have also launched Maggi Upma, Maggi Poha, ready to eat. And there is one more thing which happened in 2019, that Maggie noodles, Nescafe and Kit Kat, they became plastic neutral. So which shows that they really care about the environment. And the Maggie supply, they have a dedicated plant to, to boost the supply for the Maggie, which is coming up in the Gujarat Sananand. So now we again expect the rise in the demand for this ready to cook segment, because people will prefer the in-house consumption and the branded, and they will go for the branded products actually. So coming to the next segment of the company is powdered and liquid beverages, where you have Nescafe, different brands of Nescafe. Then you have Nestea. Now this is a segmental performance over the last 10 years. You can see there is a lot of pricing gap. Mostly the sales and the quantity are going in line, and basically, it's more towards the decreasing side. So in this category, you have the very famous brand under the brand name of Nescafe, which has a market share of 50%, and Nestle is the leader in that, and the competing brands are Brew, and this is the market size, and it is expected to grow at the rate of 8.9%. So under this segment, the company has launched various Tetra packs under the flavor Nestea and Nescafe. They've also launched one smart Nescafe E, a smartphone connected coffee making mug. And the launch of new Nescafe Office Corner was considered as a unique proposition in the industry. So in this segment, we expect that the demand to remain subdued because of the non-working or the limited working of the hotels, the aviation sector, the offices, mall, kiosks, cinemas in the coming months, because the coffee is widely used over there. However, the in-house consumption will rise. So now next segment we have chocolates and confectionery under the brand name of Kit Kat, Munch, Milky Bar, Polo. So this is how the segment has performed over the last 10 years. So this is the green is a quantity and this is a sales. So it's going in line. And yeah, you can see the lot of pricing difference. And then from 2016, it's going in a stable way. And the next you have, so Kit Kat is a Kit Kat, Milky Bar and Munch. They are the market leaders in the white and the wafer segment. Competing brands are Amul, Cadbury, Mondelez, and this has a market size of 172 billion and expected to grow at the rate of 11%. So Kit Kat has launched under the various has launched new products called Kit Kat Desert Delight, and then Munch has also launched new product Crisp Pop, Milky Bar Musha. These are all the new products, and we expect the demand to be stable under this category with the launches of the above products. So now this is actually the price per kg chart, wherein you can see like how the price has moved during this 10 years. It's more increasing in the milk products and the nutrition segment, because the raw material is milk and its derivatives, and it's going to be like, fluctuating, because the milk and its derivatives is a quite fluctuating product. Now you can see that, this from last year it has increased to 7.48%. So that is why we got that chart, the great dip in the, then the next is like how the prepared dishes and the cooking aids. You can see, since 2016, it is more or less stable. Yeah, but compared to the last year, this pricing has also increased. And then when we go to the powdered and the liquid beverages, it was more growing during the initial years, but now since last 3 years, it's not growing much. This can be also due to the lot of competition in the market, because they are competing. They cannot increase the price too much. So there are various products maybe introduced in last 3 years in the market under this segment. The chocolates and the confectioneries, the growth is in, you can see like how it has grown. The price has grown. Yeah, again the last 3 years it has not grown much. So this is like you can compare the prices and all, and you can come to know whether the sales was price driven or volume driven. So it is like both ways for Nestle is what I can see. So next we have this kiosk, which is like an out of home consumption thing. You can see like how like what is it all about. So currently they have 450 kiosks under the name of Maggie, and they are planning to increase it to 1,000. But due to this current situation, this out of home consumption has taken a backseat. But then later, maybe it can be a good break for the company, because this kiosk can be set up outside the offices, colleges, and they can also sell more products like cold coffee, chocolates, and all other Nestle brand products. So this can be good for the company. I mean, later. So they also, coming to the digitization, the company is also has a good presence in the e-commerce platform. So they have launched this app called Ask Nestle, wherein they this is basically for the child's nutritional needs. So they will give you the plan. You can come to know how your child is growing. So basically, this is a good app for the new mothers who are always concerned about the nutrition of their children. So this app also garnered more than 1 million hits within the first 14 weeks of the launch. So it's showing that it's going good. And through digitization, Nestle plans to actually, it can have a one-to-one consumer interaction also with this app. So this can increase their sales further. So coming to the modes of the company, this company has a strong distribution network, about 4,600 suppliers, 1,700 distributors, 1 lakh dairy farmers, 3,500 coffee farmers, and over 1,200 spice farmers, which constitutes a good, strong mode for the company. And of course, the strong leadership team, the global brand name, the valuable brand, and the trust, the quality they have, and they are the market leader in most of the products like cereals, the formula milk, and the Maggie, the Nescafe, and a lot of the products, as we have seen, they are market leaders. And with this continuous innovation and the continuous new launches every year will make the business more sustainable in the future. And it is always sustainable actually. So next we'll come to the Maggie crisis and revival 2015 and 16. So in 2015, there was some sample packs of Maggie which was tested. They had a higher levels of lead, so they were tested, and it created a lot of confusion for the consumers. So the Maggie was withdrawn and it was stopped, and it was withdrawn from the market. So again, then to revival, they did a lot of testings, and then they found that okay, the lead levels are now okay to eat. I mean, they are under the permissible limits. So now it was declared as safe to eat. So after a challenging period, the company relaunched the Maggie noodles. In June 2015, they had to withdraw the product, and they again relaunched it on 9th of November. So here is very interesting. Like within 53 days of the relaunch, it gained its market share back to 33.3% within the 53 days of the launch. Now this shows that people have strong brand loyalty towards the Maggie. And during this 2015, the sales, the profit, and all the numbers and all the categories were severely impacted. So now you can see that under the strong leadership team, you can see that from 2015, Mr. Suresh Narayanan was in the board. And under his strong leadership team, Maggie was able to get back his trust and quality and could revive and could see a V-shaped recovery in 2016. So which shows like a good, kind of leadership skills. So now coming to the performance highlights of 2019, the total sales increased by 9.6% and the domestic sales by 10.9%. The EBITDA grew by 9.4%. And the net profit grew by 22% compared to last year. And the most important highlights of 2019 is the special interim dividend paid of 180 rupees out of their reserves, and which accounted for 150% of the dividend payout ratio in 2019. So the reserves and all were depleted, and the ratios and the book value were impacted due to that. So next, you can see the quarter one performance of FY20. Now sales grew by 5.6% compared to the last quarter. This was mainly due to stocking up the products due to the lockdown. Now EBITDA grew by 17% compared to the last quarter. Net profit grew by 10%. And the cost of raw materials was higher, which impacted the EBITDA. The net profit was positively impacted due to the lower tax rate now. So still the Maggi noodles case is still going on before the Supreme Court. So the company makes certain provisions for contingency for the matters related to litigations, which is a good sign, you can see. So now coming to the current COVID crisis and assumptions. So Maggi was able, Nestle was able to supply till April, and then most of the manufacturing plants were not working. So in May 2020, noodles and coffee, they were depleted, and they was seeing some and there was some lot of shortage in that. So because of the labor shortage, the unavailability of the raw material, and the manufacturing units not working, so this will create a negative impact in the coming quarter actually. So now, as per the recent management call, the company has resumed its operations, and all the manufacturing locations are running at its 70 to 80 utilization capacity, and all the distribution centers and the warehouses center, they all are working normally now, and they are following the safety practices and following the procedures for social distancing. So, and yeah, the company also said that it has strong cash position and has enough liquidity to meet its financial commitments. So moving on to the net profit analysis of the company in the past 10 years, you can see that CAGR is around 8%. And this dip is due to the Maggi crisis, and you can see the sharp recovery after that. And the net profit margin is more or less similar, you can see, except for the FY15. And then coming to the sales and EBITDA growth analysis of the company, you can see the CAGR sales is around 7% in last 10 years, and EBITDA CAGR is around 8% for the last 10 years. And you can see the dip is due to the Maggi crisis in 2015. So now coming to the ratio analysis, you have return on equity, EPS, capital employed, and return on invested capital. So most of them you can see it has been a dip in 2015, and again it has been and they have been able to recover back. And due to the special interim dividend paid, you can see a lot of dip in the invested capital and an increase in the return on equity and the capital employed ratio. So coming on to the price, like how the Nestle has performed over the years compared to the index, you can see the Sensex CAGR is about 7%, and Nestle has grown 10-year CAGR of 22%, 21% actually. So which shows like how Nestle has performed over the years. Now coming to the valuation band chart, you can see Nestle is currently trading as a higher value, a higher PE valuation. But coming from this strong FMCG company, it would generally trades around a higher valuation band only. Then coming to the PB valuations chart, you can see that yes, it's still trading at a higher valuation. And this PB dip in the PB you can see because of the special dividend effect, the book value. So now these are few the financial statements of the company. So now you can see how the sales has grown over the years, like 9.61. For this coming year, we have assumed that due to this current COVID crisis, there has to be some demand dip. So we have assumed at around 6.5 the sales growth, and then the coming year it would be around 11.25%, and then 9%, and then the 10% on the rest of the years. So accordingly, you can see there has been a dip in the EBITDA margin because the raw material prices have increased due to unavailability of the raw material and manufacturing crisis that we are facing now. The employee cost will also increase. So there is a dip in the EBITDA margin, and then it will recover, and then it can be stable. So, and the next we can see the profit, the net profit. So you can see this year would see, we can see expect a sharp dip of around 9%, and then it can recover, and then it could be a stable figure. So now coming to the balance sheet. So you can, as you can see, the share capital remains the same. So there has been no rights issue or so. And then, yeah, there is one point to be noted here. Yeah, in FY19, because of the special dividend paid out, there was a strong depletion in the reserves. So that you can see the dip. And then it can increase like so. Yeah.
You're talking on the balance sheet, right?
Yeah. And yeah, and these are the assets, current assets, total assets for the company. And these are the cash flow statement. And these are the various ratios you can see.
Just a moment, the people can't see. Hang on.
Okay. Yeah, they can see now. I'm on the ratio sheet. Should I go back?
Actually, it's not coming.
But I can see, I mean,
This is your balance sheet, right?
now I cannot see. Yeah, now I can see.
So the cash flow is not visible. The screen is blank.
This is cash flow statement. No, this is yeah, this is cash flow statement. This is cash from operating active. You cannot see that? I can
Can
see.
everyone see the presentation? Please, please, from the audience, will people uh, express whether they can see the presentation or not? See, I can see the deferred tax numbers and all that.
Yeah, I'm on that sheet only. It's a cash flow sheet.
Yeah, it's only partly visible.
So how do I fix this?
Uh, it's coming now. See, it's come. I think your bandwidth was less. Now it is coming.
Now I
So your
cannot
cash
see,
flow is visible now.
but I am not able to see now. I can't see my presentation now. Yeah, now I can see. Can
You
everyone
can see
else
now?
see? Can everyone else see now? Cash flow statement?
Yeah, we can see your cash flow. Yeah.
Okay. Now the cash from investing activities, financing activities. Can you see that? Okay, so
Yes, now
yeah,
it
the
can be seen.
cash. Yeah, the cash balance. Yeah, I know what the problem is now. It's gone actually. It's under the slide actually. So I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah, reduce the size of your presentation. Okay, doesn't matter. Go ahead. We can always
Okay.
share the slides later with the audience.
Okay. So now these are the ratios, different ratios, total debt to equity. As you can see that it's Nestle is a debt-free company, and as we have seen the return on equity and all that. So these are our various ratios: enterprise value, market capitalization, EV by EBITDA, P and PB that we have seen in the chart. So now the cycle, you can see the trade payable days. Now we have increased for this year because we expect that it will take time to pay to the traders. So, and that this is also we have increased that we will take time because of the current COVID situation, and inventory days also we have increased. So the cash conversion cycle has come to -5. Now you can see the working capital, the change in the working capital and the free cash flow to the firm. Next we have the DCF analysis. Yeah,
This is the
I
DCF, right?
think actually, yeah, because I cannot scroll down the screen actually. To show, it's I can't scroll it down actually. So I can't see the share value.
Yeah, you tell
Can
us what is your
It's around 16,900 something. 16,000
16,900.
16,000 something, yeah. And it
Yeah,
is
so
currently trading at the similar value.
yeah,
And we expect it to go down a little further because the quarter two is not expected to be good.
yeah.
And then we have this competitors evaluation. So these are the major competitors of Nestle. I've just done that only actually. These are the HUL, ITC, Britannia. So you can compare it with respect to PE ratio, the return on equity ratio, and the PB ratio. As you can see, HUL has good return on equity. Even Nestle also has good return on equity. And the ROIC, Nestle and HUL has good return on obviously they are at a premium valuation because, and it is justifiable also looking at the brands and everything. So the next we have this scatter plot analysis, wherein you can see Nestle is on the higher side because the return on equity is on the higher side, and the PEG ratio is on the again on the higher side actually. So yes, the valuation is very high for Nestle.
Can you give the exact intrinsic value of that you're getting? 19,000 what? 16,900.
Wait, I have to check on my spreadsheet now. Just wait. Okay, my computer's hang. Just bear with me. Okay, it's 16,926.75. 16,926. Can you? Okay, I'll go back. Okay, so the next I have is, yeah, I'm done with my presentation and open to question and answer round now.
So some of the questions, Ansh, can you actually?
I can't see the question part.
I think you can. You just pull that box out. You can see. Go to the chat part of it. You'll see it.
Okay.
So Anshul, uh, is it possible for us to know what are you saying that when you say that I think the range of sales must have a difference of 20% peer to peer? Okay. Lakshay Mahindra is saying why ITC's intrinsic value is so low. Where is it low? The stock is quoting at a lower multiple because its cigarettes business is getting flagged from if you see ITC's multiple, ITC's PE multiple is low compared to the other guys because he's into the cigarette business, and his other businesses are hotels, uh, paper, and agri commodities and FMCG, which he has just not been able to make any kind of money. So that is why the valuation of ITC is low. Sri Kumar Ravindran is asking how to calculate future growth values. So that is dependent upon what is the outlook you see, right? Sri Kumar, that is what this course is all about. And that is what we learn in this course. Ansh, can you highlight your questions again, please? I think the range of sales must have a difference of 20%. So what are you trying to get at? Vaishali Vadva is saying, what are the basis of selecting these companies as competitors to Nestle? So they are
ITC has some ready-to-eat food items, right? Like in the name
so
of
they are in this,
Sunfeast pasta.
yeah.
So which is also a major product for Nestle.
Yeah, so fast-moving consumer goods or consumer staples or ready or normally used products are usually clubbed together.
Yeah.
Himanshu Kale, how ITC is compared with Nestle. So if you see the slide and if you see Nestle and just focus here, this part on the profit growth, if I may highlight this and this. Okay. So what you will see is that ITC grew 60%, is expected to grow about 60% from 11,000 crores profit to 17,000 crores in the period of about 4 years from FY18, right? And if you see Nestle is going to grow
That is for Nestle.
much faster from 1600 to 28. So it's adding 66%, right? And that is where the whole difference lies. So, if you see ITCs will go to 9 to 14, while this guy will almost close to double in EPS terms. So that is why there is this differential in ITC and him. Santosh Jain is asking Q2 FY21 projections are higher than FY19 level. Will it be achievable? So that is what I was also asking Preeti. Can you tell us about your optimism about the numbers for FY21 Q2?
FY21.
Yeah, current year Q2.
20, right?
Yeah, currently it is 20.
This one, right? 13090.
Yeah.
13090, right?
Yeah.
6.5% you mean to say?
So this is this should be CY20, actually, because the year FY19 is over,
currently.
and this is the current year which is going on. So this is also a forecasted year, right?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is.
so
This
all
is
these should have been
forecasted.
FE, FY20E, FY21E.
Oh, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah. So
FY20 and 21 was also E, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we are if you notice that for
So major for the major segments, we are expecting the demand to be stable, right? Like for the nutrition product.
see, Nestle is more of a urban company,
Yeah.
and urban affordability will not be hit as much as the rural. I know first quarter is taken a backseat, but your products 29%, which is milk based, Maggie snagging item, which is about another 40%. So 65% of the portfolio is quite stable. So even then, we have taken a kind of a 30% dip in sales, from 9.6 to 6.5. And then next year, because of a lower base, it will go up by 11.2%. So if you see 12 to 95, 14, 5, 63, it's not significantly higher. Okay, but because of the low effect of FY20, you will see such a big jump in FY21. And then we have assumed a sequential growth of 10%, which the company can definitely match with a function of
Because
value volume
if you
growth.
see the last 10 years data, it was always growing at 9 to 10%, 9
Yeah,
to 12% actually.
yeah. So that's very creditable to the company because the portfolio is such na that it can easily take price hikes without impacting volumes. And then there is a play of growth through new products, uh, you know, volume growth in existing categories is number
Yeah,
one. Okay.
they are launching a lot of Tetra packs and all for
Yeah,
coffee, for Nestle. So a lot of
exactly.
new products also coming up. So
Yeah.
we're seeing a
So
positive
that's that.
impact. See, yeah.
Avina Singh is saying why property and plant equipment is going down in later years. Where is that?
Which one? The plant, मतलब fixed asset.
Yeah.
You mean to say the fixed
So
asset?
actually,
No,
fixed assets are growing. Yeah. See, we are
no,
at.
we have taken see, they are going with a constant capex. So we have taken a constant capex as per the
Yeah,
compared
yeah,
to
yeah.
the last year. We've assumed it as to be same actually. So it is not growing much. You mean to say, right? The net block and the gross block.
Yeah, I hope so. Avinash, anything specific to that? So Ansh, India is a diverse country, and they are called peers in the nature of the products. So they're all consumables, if you understand. So there's repeat volume, there is branding, and there is not much focus or emphasis on the. There is not much focus on being a commodity, right? So that is why they are called as consumables. Ketan Wadhwani is saying, can we check the net cash flow? I guess the net cash flow is getting decreased in projected years. I doubt. Can you show us that, Preeti? Just 1 second. Huh? So net cash inflow is continuously growing. So we were minus 21 in FY 2019 and we are growing continuously. So there will be some years where there is equity dividend paid, there is investing and capex going on. So cash flows are always volatile. That is because it is a function of dividend distribution, capex done, and any debt paid or debt raised, or depending on all these factors. So what you have to see when you analyze cash flows is not a trend, but rather the bulk of the year should have a positive cash flow. Avinash Singh is saying net block. Show your net block, please. Just so net block is going down because it is getting depreciated. See, your gross block is continuously going
Yeah,
up.
this will always go down, right? As
Yeah.
you can see from
So the
2000.
pace of gross block growth is only 200 crores. Whereas if
Yeah,
you
it's
see the
only 200.
pace of depreciation is at 400 crores, that's why the net block is going down. Okay. Ansh is saying, uh, we mean, see, like for HUL, Jyoti Laboratories, which is a fledgling, also sells liquid detergents uh, for their dishwashers and stuff. So still it is a peer because it is a second in market share. Okay, so HUL has 80% share and they have 20%. Harsh Shah is saying what are revenue growth assumptions? So we are assuming that revenue will grow at a constant 9 to 11% growth, which has been the trajectory over the last 10, 12 years. And the reasoning for doing that is that food is a very underpenetrated category in India. Harkirat Singh is asking, can you tell us about the Sanand plant in Gujarat? So that is purely to, Maggie is such a big,
Dedicated to Maggi.
Maggie is such a big product. Okay, it's a super brand that they have to put up an entire facility for Maggie. That speaks volumes about the growth. Santosh Jain is saying growth in powdered and liquid beverage is very volatile. Any specific reason? So basically, it's a commodity, right? Coffee. If you're
Yeah,
trading in coffee,
the
volumes are
cocoa
going to be
price
volatile.
also, the cocoa price also.
Yeah, the cocoa prices also change. So there's a commodity element involved. Kanik Sharma is saying, as she mentions, prices are expected to drop further. So what do you expect to be the right buy? So can we just go to the valuation bands, Preeti?
Yeah, acha valuation bands. Okay.
Yeah. Kanishk, see, Nestle is actually being tracked. The price is moving uh, as per the uh, intrinsic value. It's strongly tracking intrinsic value, and since we have 16,900 as a fair value to the stock, generally, where do you think you would buy a stock? Right, you would want to have at least a 20% upside,
Yeah.
right? So if for the full year my current price is around 17,500, 800, and my fair price is 16,900, and I'm going to have a bad quarter in June, then there is definitely a chance that price will come down unless and until the company comes in the June quarter and gives a commentary that my growth is going to remain strong. So you have to track that. If the company says that the growth is going to remain strong, market is going to discount weak performance and uh, fixate itself on the future. Okay. Avinash is saying, don't you think it's a little unusual to charge depreciation of 400 crores per year, but capex is growing only 200? If we go by this, the PPE will be near zero in 2030, which does not make sense. Avinash fairly agreed, point taken, but it depends to what extent you are outsourcing your requirements. So if you're outsourcing your requirements, which is an increasing trend with all the MNCs in India, then you do not need to put up too many plants in India. So that 200 capex will be part of maintenance capex plus modular capex that is done to cater to additional capacities, right? So that's that. Any other questions?
Sir, I can't see all the questions. I don't know.
So I
All these
think I've
questions.
answered all the questions. We have taken all the questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. If all of you are done with the questions, then we'll wind up the session. And before that, it would be great if you could take this poll. Okay. And also, please tell us what you think about Preeti's model. And do we expect some innovation in HUL in future? Nestle has already introduced a lot of products in the last 3-4 years. See, Nestle's market size is very limited because they share as I told you, their products are very urban in nature, right? And they are number one in each category. So for them, growth can come from only launching new products, which is what they're doing. HUL is also doing a lot of innovations, and if you have seen our last presentation, please go through it, and you will find a slew of innovations that have taken place there. Yes, we will be sharing the presentation. Can we take terminal growth more than GDP growth for an FMCG? Yes, we can. In the case of Nestle, we can because food is a very underpenetrated commodity, and these commodities grow very fast. Thank you very much. Preeti,
Thank
excellent
you.
presentation. I know
Thank
you're a soft-spoken person, but your
you.
charts and slides have been very loud in their own way. You have covered everything that is there to cover. So I think
Okay,
it's an
thank
excellent
you.
presentation, and thank you very much.
Actually, it was more of a
Yeah,
rather than a
so this is,
presentation part.
see,
Actually,
what happens is that when you
more focus.
teach,
I was more focusing on making people,
yeah,
learn
yeah.
about things rather
So when
than
you
just
teach,
present it.
you
Yeah,
teach, you become a better learner.
yeah,
Yeah. So anytime I don't know something, I go and teach it.
yeah, yeah.
Harsh is saying, when I'm trying to do valuation of FMCG company other than this company, what should be key parameters to keep in mind while forming assumption? So one is growth, market share dominance, and third thing is ability to maintain moats. These are the three greatest things that you can think about. And one person had pointed us out to the fact that presentations are more qualitative than quant. I think that without qualitative, you can't have quantitative, and vice versa. Okay, so their equity research is more about qualitative than about quantitative aspect, because qualitative is the input and quantitative is the resultant. So thank you very much once again, all 120 who attended today, and we will be putting up the video on YouTube as well as on all the social media channels. And thank you very much once again. Thank you, Preeti.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone.